Good morning, beloveds. I'm going to see if I can cut out the glare today. It is October 6th. It is Tuesday, and I have no idea whatever else was going to come after that. I'm just excited because I found my other folding chair. My trainer suggested a particular stretch, and there's nothing in my house that's the right height. It's either too high or too low, and I'm just like, and so he's like, well, here, use this. And I was like, okay, and he showed me exactly what to do, and then I couldn't find my other folding chair, because I need two folding chairs to put the piece on. It's just like, I just found it. It's in here. Tucked up against the wall. Who knew? All right. But this is the silliness of my life. I am easily amused, and I like it that way. So I'm easily amused by myself. i.e., I'm excited that I found a folding chair. So, well. And then the trick will be, once I set the thing, one, I got to figure out where I'm going to set it up. And two, then I have to protect it from the cats, because the middle piece is not mine. And all I need is my cats, which they're all sleeping off somewhere. Okay. So, October 6th, it is Tuesday. I haven't quite cut out the glare, but that's okay. And our our title is I Acknowledge the Source of My True Self in God. I will not leave thee nor forsake thee. Our divine nature never deserts us. Like the prodigal son, we may wander into far countries of despair, but the divinity within us ever gently urges us back to the center of our true being. It reminds us of its presence. Today, I acknowledge this true self, knowing that it will instantly supply me with whatsoever things I need. Today, I consciously recenter the kingdom of heaven within me. I sit at the table of the Lord and partake of the divine banquet, the wine of spirit and the bread of life. I know that the master of the table is my own indwelling Christ, that part of me that is perfect in God, that immortal self that is birthless, deathless, and changeless. I know that my host is God, the living Spirit Almighty. I live, move, and have my being in this divine presence. In God there is life, in God there is peace, in God there is wholeness. There is no need for sorrow, no need for fear or regret. This is no occasion for anxiety or despair. In returning unto that which is a whole, I am made whole. In returning unto that power that contains all things, I realize that nothing can be lost. Today, I keep my vision on this thought. There is one power, one presence, and one reality from which I can never be separated. I am some part of this divine reality. I am dear to the heart of being. I am one with God. I acknowledge the source of my true self in God. Okay then. So the first part is the very first line, I will not leave thee nor forsake thee, is in quotes. I suspect it is a Bible quote. Again, you could probably put it into your Google search or whichever search function you use. Put it in your search function and it will tell you where it is in the Bible. Which Reverend Norm is a big believer in knowing the context. You know, read a few lines before, read a few lines after whatever quote people are throwing at you. Because sometimes we take things out of context and they don't mean what we think they mean. Or as Inigo Montoya says, I do not think that word means what you think it means. The quote may not mean what you think it means. But in this case, I am quite sure, because Ernest was a fantastic Bible scholar. I'm quite sure that it means what it says. I will not leave thee nor forsake thee. Because God can't. God can't leave us or forsake us because we are made up of the same stuff that God is. We are made up of God's stuff. We are God expressing through us. We are God having an experience that God couldn't have without us. So God can't forsake us. God can't leave us because that's the very building blocks of who and what we are. Our divine nature never deserts us. Yet, if you've never read, what book is it in? One of Ernest's books, and I apologize that it's now popped out of my head. He takes on the prodigal son story and tells it from that metaphysical point of view. And if you've never read it, it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to have to remember which book it is. And I'll try and go back and put it in the comments. So like the prodigal son, we may wander into far countries of despair. We can create that illusion of separation. But that's exactly what it is. It's an illusion. But the divinity within us gently urges us back to the center of our true being. It reminds us of our presence. So my question to you would be, what are the reminders? There was a ridiculous Hallmark movie that I absolutely loved. And she was like, in this case, because it was a Christmas movie, she's like, well, God's sending you sleighs. You need to get in the sleigh. Or you've heard the joke about the boat, the guy sitting on his roof, and he gets to heaven. He's like, why? And God's like, well, I sent you 3 boats. I sent you the rowboat, the speedboat, and the sailing boat, whatever. So what are the little signs? The little signs that we miss in our daily life that are the reminders of the divinity. Beauty is always a good one. Beauty is a good one. Like today, when we were on our walk in the neighborhood, there was a cat, and he's a neighborhood cat. We've seen him he lives somewhere in, in about a 3-span house. He was just further down than we usually see him, but he was just perfectly positioned that I took an absolutely gorgeous shot of him. And he didn't make any noise. He was fairly well hidden. Tom didn't see him. But it was beautiful. And it's little things like that that remind you. Or butterflies. Or babies. Babies of any species. Are reminders of the divine presence. Those little things that jump out at you. There'd be a beautiful sunrise. A beautiful sunset. Interestingly shaped cloud. Those can all be things that remind you. Or, the twinkle in your friend's eye when you share one of those inside jokes. Or looking at the hands of your grandmother. That's spirit reminding us of its presence. So it's like, I'm trying to think of all the wide random things that I can think of, but I'm sure you have plenty more. And I would suggest keeping a list if you're looking for signs of the divine. That might be ways to do it. Just those little things that make you go, oh yeah, no, God is good. God is good. Today I acknowledge this true self, knowing that it will instantly supply me with whatsoever things I need. Because that's what Spirit is always waiting for. Spirit is always waiting for us to say yes. I like to say, how big is your cup of acceptance? Spirit is waiting for us to say yes. Spirit wants to give us anything and everything to make our lives good. But we have to be willing to say yes. We have to acknowledge that we have a source. Today, I consciously recenter the kingdom of heaven within me. And that's the secret. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It's right there in the Bible. Jesus says it. The kingdom of heaven is within you. But we kind of get I don't know, caught up in, I like to say, caught up in the noise of the world. And so we put the kingdom of heaven out there, or more important, most put it up there. We put it away from ourselves. And so if we stop and take that minute and recenter and reground and recognize, oh, no, right there. The kingdom of heaven is right there. That the master teacher taught us that is where we go. To talk to God, to talk to, the Christ consciousness. It's right there. We just get so busy without there that we forget. And so it's gently nudging us to remind us who we are and where we are. I sit at the table of the Lord and partake the divine banquet, the wine of the Spirit and the bread of life. It's a beautiful image. I know that the master at the table is my own indwelling Christ, that part of me that is perfect in God, that immortal self that is birthless, deathless, and changeless. Okay, so I know that the master at the table of the banquet of life is my own indwelling Christ. We are all capable of the Christ consciousness. But it comes down to our acceptance of the Christ consciousness. And it comes down to accepting that Jesus was an amazing man who accepted his Christ consciousness. He looked inside and went, yes. He looked inside and said, yes. I understand where the kingdom of heaven is. I understand whose child I am. Now let me teach you how to do the same. So that is the Christ consciousness within us. Jesus came to teach us how to access that Christ consciousness within ourselves. That part of ourself that is immortal, birthless, deathless, and changeless. Whatever we do on the outside will not change the Christ consciousness within us. It won't diminish it, and it won't make it any bigger, because it is what it is. It is our job to accept it and allow more of it to flow into our lives. It's like we already have as much Christ consciousness as we're ever going to have. I mean, it is our basic nature. But it's about the acceptance and the consciousness of allowing it in. I know that my host is God, the living Spirit Almighty. And here's the treatment that you hear from a lot of Science of Mind ministers. I live, move, and have my being in this divine presence. Because this is what we truly believe. We believe that we are within the divine presence. We are living within the divine presence. And it's when we consciously state out loud to ourselves, I live, move, and have my being in this divine presence, we're more likely to act like it. In God, there is life. In God, there is peace. In God, there is wholeness. Statements of fact. There is no need for sorrow, no need for fear or regret. This is no occasion for anxiety or despair. When you know who you are, a beloved child of God, with full access to the Christ consciousness, then you will have life. You will have an amazing life. You will have peace. You will have wholeness. And you won't need sorrow, fear, or regret. Does that mean that there will not be times that you will have sorrow? No. Because we are mortal beings. We are immortal spirits having a mortal experience. And when people cross over and leave us into another plane of existence, we miss them. And so, yes, there will be sorrow, but it will be sorrow tinged with the knowing that we will see them again. And then fear and regret, yeah, well, that's a whole different. And we can give up the anxiety and the despair. And the anxiety is about fear of the future, and despair or depression is hanging on to the past. That would be regret. In returning unto that which is whole, I am made whole. I am accepting and acknowledging my Christ consciousness. That makes me whole. I am accepting my spiritual nature. I am expecting my birthright of freedom. My birthright of Christ consciousness. In returning unto that power that contains all things, I realize that nothing can be lost. Nothing is outside of God. So I mentioned losing people. And that's what it means. Yes, I will physically miss you because you are not physically in my life, but spiritually you will always be there. So it's a different kind. Nothing can be truly lost. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It merely changes form. Thermodynamics. Today, I keep my vision on this thought. There is one power, one presence, and one reality from which I can never be separated. I can create the illusion of separation. I can buy into other people telling me about the illusion of separation, but it's not the truth with the capital T. There is no separation. I am some part of this divine reality. I am dear to the heart of being, and he uses the capital B right there. I am so you are dear to the heart of being. I am one with God, which is what we teach. I acknowledge the source of my true self in God. And I think my favorite phrase out of this entire thing is, I am dear to the heart of being. Because everybody needs to feel that sometime. Actually, we need to feel it all the time. But sometimes when we're really having a tough time, that one phrase, you are dear to the heart of being. Sometimes that's what we need to hear. So our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to acknowledge this true self. Acknowledge the source of my true self in God. Acknowledge your true self in God. That is our mission today. And I would suggest, if you want an exercise to do that, is to go back and look at the little nudges that God has been giving you to remind you that Spirit is there. Beauty was my suggestion, but whatever it looks like to you, and I would be interested to hear what your ideas of those little nudges of spiritual presence are. So throw them in the comments, please. But yeah. All right. So I'm going to end with do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself today and every day, because you are of value to the being. What did he say? You are dear to the heart of being. So be compassionate with yourself. Do something loving for yourself. Do something kind, whatever it looks like, big or small, whatever it is. It is a fantastic day. We are definitely in fall for South Texas. So open your windows, get some fresh air, get a fresh perspective. Do something to engage your mind and your body. And open the windows of your soul and allow that breath of heaven to remind you to recenter yourself in the kingdom of heaven, because it is at the center of your own being, where it's always been. So, yeah. All right. I'm going to move into the process of my day. I am going to remind you that Reverend David will be on with you around 5 p.m. today. I will be back with you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. And I'm going to remind you that you are a beloved child of God in whom Spirit is well pleased. You are dear to the heart of being. Always and forever. All right, beloveds. Have a wonderful day.